1 Corinthians chapter 9, Paul's passion for lost people. Let me start with the overall principle of his ministry is in verse 19. Look at verse 19. Though I am free and belong to no one, I have made myself a slave to everyone to win as many as possible. So the overall principle of his ministry he would become a slave to everyone, make himself a slave to everybody, voluntarily adapting his lifestyle and his ministry for a purpose. He gave up his personal desires, he gave up his personal rights, he gave up his privileges, he gave up his religious rights, and for Paul, it never was about his preferences, ever. It never was about his preferences. That was the principle. What's the purpose? What was the filter? The end of verse 19, to win as many as possible. That's the purpose. The principle, to make himself a slave to everyone. The purpose, to win as many as possible. He would do anything. Paul's purpose was not to win as many as would be convenient. The purpose was not to win as many as long as we are still comfortable. The purpose was not to win as many as we could manage, to win as many as would feel like family, to win as many as who are like us, to win as many who are willing to become just like us, to win as many as we can fit in the parking lot, or to win as many as match my preferences. And so Paul, his principle, slave to everyone, the purpose was to win as many as possible. In other words, for Paul, if it wasn't a biblical issue, he would give up that preference. And some would say, okay, but don't you eventually have to focus on the maturity of the believer? And we'll talk more about that. And I would say, of course that's true. But are you familiar with the Corinthians? Start with chapter 5. There's some pretty ugly stuff happening there. Yet Paul, even with that church, he's trying to win as many as possible. In other words, I think the point is that the idea of making more disciples and better disciples are not opposing purposes.